Welcome to the Miranda Project. I'm your host, Manny. Welcome to the Miranda Project. I'm your host, Manny. Happy to be with you today, wherever it is that you are listening to or watching our show on Rumble. We are glad to be with you. It's been a while again, and it's been a bit of a transition. I think it has a lot to do with getting into the studio. Schedules kind of changed a little bit, but enough of that. We're gonna make sure that we were able to obviously get a schedule that's going to work. And obviously, we're just happy to be able to be on here with you. There's been a lot of people that have said, hey, what's going on? Questions have been asked, and we're just happy that our audience, the best audience that we have, and for anybody that is new to the show, we definitely appreciate you. But again, let's get it started, man. I mean, it's been a minute, and it's gonna be hard hitting. So let's get into it. It's gonna start. I laugh. I laugh because what has transpired recently. I guess with SCOTUS. Um, what has transpired with the Supreme Court of the United States of America, or has recently now gotten some backlash, and people have lost their ever loving minds over it. So we're going to talk about it because apparently hard work is racist. Hard work is racist. Work is racist because affirmative action was knocked down by the Supreme Court. Now, like I said, everybody has lost their minds, and they're saying that the Supreme Court is racist, or the fact that there's no more affirmative action is racist, and so on and so forth. Now, for those of you who don't know what affirmative action is, let's just give a quick history lesson back in, or history lesson back in, what's it called? Let's say in the 60s. I don't remember exactly the year. But they developed, or they created, what is affirmative action. Basically, they're allowing people into certain collegiate institutions or schools based on the fact that they needed to fill a quota of minorities. So in other words, you didn't necessarily have to qualify to be in the institution, but the institution needed to make sure that they were allowing a certain amount of different races into the institution so that they can get the same chances or the same education as other races, or as the white race, because again, everything is and went through the white race, right? So this is affirmative action. This is what it was. And now it's been knocked down. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court because the Chinese or the Asian community felt that it was unfair to them because they were putting in the work. Again, here's the clarity. Here's the situation here. They were putting in the work, and they weren't being looked over because they did not meet the standard of being a minority. So in other words, they busted their hump, they got A's, straight A's, and they weren't able to get into the Harvards or the Yales because those institutions needed to make sure that they filled a particular quota. So it got all the way up to the Supreme Court. And now the Supreme Court has basically knocked down affirmative action. And again, we're just going to say it. People lost their minds. They lost their minds. If you don't believe me, and this is why I was laughing. Because I found this on Twitter and I thought this was absolutely hilarious. This is a tweet by a man named, but his name is Zeke Arkham. This is his Twitter handle. And he writes in the Twitter, in his tweet, or he tweets rather, excuse me. I'm glad I belong to a generation that didn't need safe spaces and therapy every time we didn't get our way. And for those of you, I should put it up on the screen, but I didn't preload it in my in my thing here to put it up on my screen. So apologies for those of you watching on Rumble, but I'm gonna read it. He continues. I mean, we watched the Challenger space shuttle blow up in real time, and my teacher told us to take out our math books because we had a test that Friday. I'm really feeling like some members of Gen Z just aren't going to make it once the real world hits them. And I totally agree with Zeke Arkham. I remember watching the Challenger in my classroom with all my classmates, watching the Challenger go up and it blowing up in real time. The teachers didn't know exactly what to do at that moment, but we transitioned right back into our day, and it was like we apologize for that, obviously, and we feel sorry, and they said, if you feel comfortable with praying whom it is that you serve, or who your deity is at the time, go ahead and say a prayer for those families. And then we transitioned back into our daily routines. That was it. Nobody said anything else, anything. Done. Just like my man said. Boston University law students offered therapy in response to recent Supreme Court decisions. So, people at Boston University need therapy because Supreme Court found it unconstitutional for institutions of higher learning to discriminate against other races that are not part of the affirmative action that was in play before or for a long period of time. So now you have to be able to work, put in the schoolwork. You have to be able to do the schoolwork. You have to be able to make sure that you can perform in order for you to be able to merit or be able to get acceptance into institution A, B, or C. We're not just letting anybody out from any place into any particular institution because we need to fit a quota. Right? And now, all of a sudden, that has become unconstitutional. Not unconstitutional. It was unconstitutional to have affirmative action in play. And now that it has been knocked down, people have lost their mind. And it's not that it's unconstitutional, it's that it's racist. Jamel Hill from ESPN basically lambasted the Asian community, saying that Black Americans have helped the Asian communities get to where they are today. And there was a podcaster, oh my God, I forgot his name, who came out and said, this is what's wrong with America today. This is what's wrong with this great deception that we're in the midst of. That's a plug for another show. talk about that later. Great deception. But this is what's wrong. Because I love what he said, and he's 100% true on this. What he said was, and he used to work at ESPN. As a matter of fact, he was a basketball analyst, and now he has his podcast and he does other stuff. So I'm trying to remember what his name is, and it slips. It escapes me, but it'll come to me probably like in the next segment or when I'm talking about something completely different. But what he says is that there is more proof of white Americans helping the black community get into places, get into these institutions, to be able to put a foothold in society, to be able to be where they are, to free them from slavitude, from being slaves, than there is black community helping the Asian community. As a matter of fact, there's been like this untold feud between the black community and the Asian community. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, here in New York City, you can see it. How many times you've had the Asian community attacked by black Americans, telling them that they need to leave this country, that they're illegals, that they're this, that they're that, and I mean, there was a tragic death where a Asian woman was pushed in front of a train by a deranged black man. Obviously, not. And deranged, I don't mean it in a derogatory manner. I mean it because he did have mental issues. Mental issues are a problem. Now, please do understand that I am not against Hispanic American, Black Americans being able to get higher education. I'm not against it. But you got to earn it. Why is it that we have to get freebies because we're Hispanic or because we're black? Why? Why? Because we're black and we're Hispanic, we have to get freebies? Because we're not capable enough to do it on our own? We need your help? Is that what it is? I mean, let me kind of break it down to you. Affirmative action was needed then. You had people that were held under a thumb, that they had this evil boogeyman over their shoulders that did not allow them to properly educate themselves. So yes, then it was needed. They needed to be able to prove that they can hang with the rest of society. I give that. I'm there. I'm with you. But haven't we proved that already? Haven't we already gotten to a point where we can hang with the rest of them, as they say? I mean, for crying out loud, you've got men like, I don't know, Ben Carson. If you've never seen his documentary and think about, I mean, just watch it and think about where that man came from, what he endured. And the man is a genius. He is a genius. A brain surgeon who successfully split conjoined twins. I'm not making this stuff up. Go and find out. Ben Carson, an African American, Black American, whatever you want to call him, American to me. The man's an absolute genius. You think that he could hang with the rest of them? You don't think that he didn't get no freebie? There was no freebie for him. That man earned it. And I'm sure that he earned it with with all the scrutiny in the world. Yeah, because of the color of his skin. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I know that there's racism in this world. I've said it over and over and over and over and over again on this show. I've experienced it myself. What, because I'm Hispanic American, I'm not going to get it as bad as Black Americans? Yeah, I know that. I get that. I understand that. But I'm still going to get racism. I'm still going to get looked at like I'm on welfare. Come on. Like I live off of the system. That's the stereotype for Hispanic Americans. Come on. Most of them think that we're illegals. Anytime an Hispanic American walks into, I don't care if you white, I don't care if you black, I don't care. Because you see us, you say, there he goes, an illegal immigrant. Wonder if he got papers. Oh, wait. He's Puerto Rican. He ain't got to worry about no papers. He probably living off of the system. Probably paying I'm probably paying what's it called for his food stamps. Because that's the stereotype. That's the thing that we have to live under, live what's it called? Live with. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the stereotypes are real, and it does happen. But this is the stuff that we have to live with. But let me tell you something also. There are plenty of people that can go to institutions, earn them. Earned. Earn it. That they've earned it. I don't know how many times I have to say it. That they put in the work, and that piece of paper that they received from that institution that says that they graduated from that institution was not just given to them because they fit a profile, because they fit a what's it called, a quota, because they earned it. They earned it. Let me tell you something. I don't have any fancy degrees or anything like that. I don't. I barely have an associate's degree. And it's not because I couldn't keep up with the rest of them. It was because life happened. Life happens. But let me tell you something. I look at my wife, a Puerto Rican woman. She's got already 2 strikes. She's a woman and she's Puerto Rican. 2 strikes. Many degrees. She's got her bachelor's degree. She's got her master's degree. She has gone to get bilingual certifications for the city of New York. And she earned every single one of them. It was not handed to her. It wasn't given to her. Granted, we have to pay. Because, I mean, higher education is a business here in the United States. Come on, let's be real. Let's think about it. Come on, you know that's the truth. You know it's the truth. You know it. That's the other part of the student, the student loan thing. That's probably why people were, lost their minds and needed, therapy. Because after all of the hoopla that the Biden administration said that they were going to eliminate student loans and the student loan debt was going to go away and all of this stuff. And, they probably banked on it. They probably went and spent the money that they didn't have. And all of a sudden now they got to realize that, oh, wait, no, now we got to pay these loans because we got played. We were told that this was going to happen, but obviously it didn't take place. It didn't happen, and now we're up Poops Creek, as they say, because it's a family-friendly show. That's probably why they need the therapist. On top of the fact that also the whole racism thing, because this is where we are. But I think of these situations, and it just bothers me that you have people that have hit Twitter, that have gone into on national news, have gone on national newspapers crying over affirmative action like I need a handout. I don't need a handout, because if I wanted to go into any collegiate institution for me to be able to get my bachelor's finally, or for me to get a master's, I can do it, because all I got to do is set my mind to it. As I sit here, I'm controlling several machines. I'm controlling audio. I'm controlling video. And it's because this was self-taught. Thank the Lord this was self-taught. And I love doing it. I enjoy it. This is not, I didn't go to no fancy school. I didn't fork over thousands of dollars and student loan, debt or whatever to be able to operate a soundboard and a camera and different machines and what's it called? And by machines, I mean computers and what's it called? And screens and all of this stuff. I didn't do all of that. I didn't learn. I didn't go to an institution, rather. I taught myself how to do it. And now I come to you in these sound, through your headphones or on your screen, and I'm talking to you, and we're having this conversation, and I'm letting you know that I don't need a handout because I'm Hispanic. I don't need a handout. I don't need an institution to come and tell me, oh, well, you fit a quota, sir, so we're going to put you there because you deserve, because you're Hispanic. So because you're Hispanic, we're going to put you in there. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't want it. Take it back. I no. I'm glad affirmative action is done and over with. I'm glad we have shown the people, we've shown society that we can do it on our own, that we're able to pick ourselves up from our bootstraps and be able to do it, and be able to go to institutions and make the best of the education that we receive there. Why do I need a handout? Why do people need a handout? Why do I need to get an advantage from above others? Why do I need that? Why? Why? Because of diversity? Is that it's the new, what's it called? The new choice word of the year, of the century, of the of the movement, diversity. Is that what it is? Is this is the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle, as they say? Diversity. The reason why I say that and I bring up diversity is because I was having a conversation with my son's teacher towards the end of the school year, and I bring this up because again, it's like it bothers me. My son, my 7-year-old, is reading at a 3rd grade level. Mind you, he's in 1st grade. He's moving up to 2nd grade. He's doing 2nd grade math. She didn't know what to do or how to challenge him in 1st grade because she didn't have anybody else that she could match up with him to try to challenge him. And then she was afraid to give him 2nd grade work because then the teachers in 2nd grade would have a problem with him or with her because she's giving them things from their curriculum. So she suggested, I mean, you listen to that, you're like, damn, you're a proud parent. Oh man, that sounds great. I love that. I'm like, you start, you're like pounding your chest, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like, proud dad here. Right? I'm sure mom was very proud as well. But, or is rather. I say it in past tense. It is. But the teacher tells us, well, maybe what we should do, or maybe my suggestion to you is that you guys look into the Pearls program, which is a gifted program within the city that we live in. Wow, okay, that's great. Coming to me, I remember when I was coming up, I was in the same scenario. I was in a gifted program. I grew up in gifted programs. Thank God. To this day, my mother, she thought I was going to be a scientist, but that didn't, life happens. But anyways, here is this proud dad moment. Here, we're talking about the fact that my child is reading at a level that he is, outdoing other kids in his class. His vocabulary is that of a 3rd grader. He's putting sentences, comprehending stories at the level that a 3rd grader is reading, comprehending. And that means that's 9 years old. He's 7. And he's comprehending at the level of a 9-year-old. This is what I want to hear. This is what I want to. This is where I want to pound my chest and feel proud as a dad. But the next sentence that comes out of that teacher's mouth completely deflated everything because she tells me, oh, well, they also have a great diversity over there. I looked at her and I said, I can care less about diversity. I really can. I don't care. I care about my son's education. I don't care about diversity. So you're basically telling me at that point in time that it's not only because my son is reading at the level that he's reading, it's because he's Hispanic, so it should be a good idea to put him in there also. Because, we got to fit a quota. We got to make sure that we have the right amount of sprinkling. We got to make sure that we have the ratio of what's it called, coffee and cream, right? We got to make sure that we have that right ratio, right? That right there, I mean, it really, and again, I didn't mean any disrespect to her, and I didn't disrespect her, but I told her straight up and down, I'm sorry, but I could care less about diversity. I can. Because it's all about his education. It's all about making sure that he gets the best education he can possibly get, that he gets challenged, and that he can be the best version of himself. The best. I was about to say his name. I'm not going to do that. Well, his name is Caleb. Maybe. I'm not giving you his full government. But the best version of himself. That's it. That's what every parent wishes. It's not about diversity. But people have lost their minds, and this is where we are today. Because there's diversity and this, and we got to fit a quota, and we need handouts because we're Hispanic, and we need handouts because we're Black, and we can't do it, and there's racism, and they've held us down for all these years, and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 blah. Do you know what? You sound like whiny babies. And whiny babies need therapy. Nothing wrong with therapy. Please understand there's nothing wrong with therapy. I do not have anything against therapy. Or if you need it, get it. Because mental health is a problem. It is an issue. If you need therapy, get it. But you sound like whining babies. I need an extra hand. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like I can't has become like, the catchphrase for this generation. I can't do it. That's too hard. That's too much work. I was having a conversation with a gentleman, older gentleman, that goes to my church. And it's funny because he was asking me about the show as well. And he tells me, well, he goes, what's your opinion on affirmative action? I told him I'm glad it's gone. Straight up. I said, I'm glad it's gone. I said, I'm glad that it's gone because I think that we've been able to show that we can hang. I think that we've been able to show that we are capable enough to, merit an education in this country and do something with an education. Not that we get a handout in order to be able to get an education. And he looked at me, mind you, older gentleman. He said, I totally agree. We have been able and we have proven that we are capable enough to merit entrance into any institution of higher learning in this country. We just have to apply ourselves. We don't need some administrative office to say, well, okay, we are X university. We are one of the highest learning institutions in the land, and we need to make sure that we have enough people to fit the quota. So we're going to put 20% of our body has to be minorities. So we have to make sure that we have enough Hispanics and enough Black people to fit the quota because we don't want our charters, our federal funding to be taken away. I have to do the voice because, sorry. I don't know if I did it well. Somebody will let me know. But I can imagine this is the conversation that goes on in these places. And these people are talking about the fact that they need to make sure that they have 20% of their student body be Black Latino. or many other races, but mostly Black and Latino, right? Because let me be honest. I mean, I make fun. Our producer is African, right? He's on vacation right now. He's in Turkey, hating. I don't know if he'll get this show, but we're hating, bro. But he's African. Constantly make fun of the fact that he is. And they come here to this country with a, what's it called, a resolve. They come to this country with, I have to make it. I have to make it happen. And they work their butts off. You have the same thing with the Asian community. You have the same thing with well, and they're part of the Asian community, but you're talking about Indians. And I'm not talking about Native Americans. I'm talking about Indians from India. They come here and they work their butts off. You know which is one of the richest society or richest ethnic groups in this country today? The number one richest ethnic group in this country is Asians. Number two is Africans. We're born in this country. We have these handouts, and by handouts, meaning that we're able to get these things, we're able to achieve these things, we're able to, put in the work to be able to get these things, but we rather not do the work. It's too hard. That's too much work. Let me see if they'll just give it to me, because I know that I fit a quota. I know that this institution has to put 20% of me in there. You don't think that people know the system? You don't think that people know how to game the system? You got another thing coming, brother. Really, you really do. Honestly. But here we are. SCOTUS has taken away affirmative action. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez goes on CNN and blows a gasket. Because, it's so bad. It's so hard. Why? We need to put checks and balances on the Supreme Court justices. She calls out Clarence Thomas. She goes on a rampage that we need to do this and we need to put checks and balances. We need to make sure that they do this and that we can put term limits on them, because if you're appointed a justice of the Supreme Court, there's no term limits. You're there until you die or you retire, rather. Either or, whatever comes first. So she goes on a rampage saying all of this stuff about this, that, and the third, and that we need to limit them, and we need to subpoena them, and we need to make sure, and this is a girl, a woman. Excuse me, I don't mean to be disrespectful, because she's a woman. This is a woman that is a well-off woman. Came from a well-off family, even though Hispanic. Went to very good universities. I don't know if it was because money bought in or because she, merited or what's it called, earned her way in. Most likely she earned her way in. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She earned her way into the institutions that she went to. And now she sits in Congress. And you're supposed to at least have some kind of knowledge of the way things work in this country as far as the branches of government. What is the highest law in the land? The Constitution. Who was appointed to defend the Constitution of the United States? Supreme Court. Obviously, there's further stuff. I'm just being, kind of facetious in that manner. Being general. But there's three branches. And they work separately, but they work together. That's the beauty of our forefathers and how they created this country. You have the judicial Supreme Court. Right? You have the legislative, Congress. And you have the executive, the president. Neither of those other branches have power over the other branches. The president can't go and say to the Supreme Court, I'm gonna take you away. Yes, he can appoint justices, but he can't fire them. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? But at the same time, the Supreme Court can't fire the president. Isn't that funny? And at the same time, Congress can't go and say, Supreme Court, you're fired. Can't do it. They could subpoena, they could put recommendations, legislation. They can try to discover and what's it called? Do all the little things here and there to try to discredit these people to a point where they might want to resign. Kind of like what Joe Biden tried to do to Clarence Thomas back in the 80s, even though Clarence Thomas put that KKK member in his place. I'm sorry. But listen, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. But they can't do that. It's funny because also the legislative can't go and fire the president. They can recommend impeachment. They can recommend the 25th Amendment. And the 25th Amendment, for those of you that don't know, it basically says that, if the president isn't fit for duty, and by fit for duty meaning mentally or physically meant for duty, then they can put in the 25th Amendment. And that means that the second in command, the vice president, would have to take the place of the president of the United States because he or she is not fit for duty. The forefathers knew enough not to have one branch of government have more power than any other branch because that would create a dictatorship, what's it called, autocracy, all the stuff that they say that, whoa, it's coming and it's here and all of that. Then, the Great Deception. We'll talk about the Great Deception on another show. But they've lost their minds. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez goes on CNN, of all places, and says all of this rhetoric that makes absolute no sense. Knowing that she's speaking to her audience, riling up her audience, because her audience hasn't probably been taught the three branches of government and how the three branches of government work. And if I'm wrong, please someone tell me. Someone tell me that I'm wrong. I hope there is someone out there that'll come and tell me that I'm wrong. Or maybe I got a couple of things wrong, or maybe I, said it incorrectly, or whatever it is, correct me. I take criticism well. Just don't use expletives. But here we are. I mean, literally, this is where we are. People have lost their minds. I'm going to pick up my phone because I forgot to save it and put it up on my screen. And I thought it was interesting, and again, because, people have lost their minds. And because I wanted to get this person's name, and apparently I didn't. I thought I bookmarked it on my. Oh no, it's on my other Twitter page. Excuse me. It's on the. Oh, here we go. So, Natasha Cloud. She is a WNBA star, champion, obviously now because she won the championship with the what's the team again? I think it's the Mercury. And I don't follow WNBA, obviously. I just got back into the NBA kind of this year because they stopped talking politics on the court. When they started talking politics on the court, I said, time to stop watching the NBA. But, and the Knicks started getting good. So there's another reason. I'm sorry, diehard Knicks. I've been disappointed many, many years. But anyways, that's not the point of this. This young lady uses her platform to call the United States trash because the Supreme Court of the United States has struck down affirmative action. Now, the irony in all of this, and this is why I bring her up, is that in order for her to get where she got, you needed to work. She needed to work. She wasn't born with an innate skill to put a ball through a hoop. That didn't happen. She didn't come out of her mother's womb putting a ball through a hoop. She worked hard. She had to work hard. Because just like she worked hard, there was thousands of young ladies out there working hard on that skill to put a ball through a hoop, to be able to play for their college, to be able to play for the WNBA. Thousands that are probably at this moment right now in their garages, over their garages, throwing a basketball into a hoop, or in their local gymnasiums or their local parks, doing that, working on their skill. Working hard, dribbling to the right, dribbling to the left, posting up, taking a shot from the perimeter, working on their 10-foot jumpers, working on their 20-foot jumpers, bouncing it off the glass. They worked and worked just like you did in order for you to be in the place that you're in as a champion for a franchise in the WNBA. But you have the gall to come out and say that the country is trash because affirmative action is gone. So, in other words, you're saying that these young ladies that are out there working their butts off should just get the same opportunity you got handed to them. Freebie, like free. Forget all the work that you did to be able to get to where you are, or where you are today, because you're still a champion, even though the new season started. You are defending your title. But this country is trash. The same country that put you in the position that you're in. The same country that allowed you to wear this ring that you have on your finger that says that you are a champion for the franchise, that you're a champion, and that you represent the WNBA as a champion for that franchise. But hey, that was just given to you, right? That was just given to you. You didn't earn it. You didn't work hard. You didn't do nothing. You sat back and you waited for the powers that be at the WNBA to say, you know what? Let's give that team the opportunity. Let's make them champions. Because we have to fit a quota. We got to make sure that we get the right ratio of coffee and cream. Right? Your analogy, your hate, your whole thing. You know what? Did you not learn anything from Brittany Griner? Did you not? Because Brittany Griner said all the trash she said about this country, was arrested in Russia, was locked up in Russia. As soon as she comes back to this country, she's on ESPN talking about how much she loves this country, and then she stands up for the national anthem. I guess you didn't learn anything from Brittany Griner. Maybe you should go and spend some time in other countries and see how, if it'll work out for you. I'm not wishing ill will on anybody here. But how do you come out and say this nonsense? How do you literally come out and say that this country that has given you the ability to do what you're doing, to be able to work hard, racism, work hard to perfect your craft and become a champion, is trash? It's trash. You are out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. As a matter of fact, you know what? We're all out of our mind. You know what we should do from now on? And with this, I close the show. Maybe we should do this. LeBron James, next time they play, I don't know, the Wizards. Even though through free agency, I guess the Wizards have gotten better. Let's say the Hornets. Okay, let's say the Hornets, because the Hornets aren't playing that well or didn't play that well. So next time the LA Lakers play LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they should spot them 50 points, because the Hornets aren't great. They don't have a LeBron James or Anthony Davis. They have mid-level players that don't make as much, are not as great. They're not the king or whatever, and they should just be spotted 50 points so that, let's make it what's it called? Easy for them. Is that the term? Is that let's give them a handout. Let's give them that affirmative action, right? Let's make sure that it's fair to everyone. That's the term I'm looking for. That it's fair to everyone. Let's do that, right? How do you think LeBron James and Anthony Davis will feel about spotting the Hornets 50 points? All right. That's exaggerated. Let's give them 20 points. 20 points. How does that feel? What do you think? Do you think that's fair? As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's put it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's how about Usain Bolt, the fastest man on earth, right? Him and I race. Okay, I am not fast in any way, shape, or form. Okay? I'm not. And I have really bad back problems that every once in a while will sideline me, that I have to get certain type of medical procedures done to help me with my back. But I keep trucking. I keep it moving, as they say, right? But Usain Bolt should give me, let's race, 100-yard dash, right? Usain Bolt, give me, what's it called? Give me 60 yards. Give me 50 yards. Because it has to be fair. Because I can't run fast. I have to be able to keep up with you. I can't. I mean, I know that if I work hard and I perfect my craft just like Usain Bolt did, I'm still not going to beat him, but I'm going to feel so damn good about the fact that I put in the work. Why are they downplaying us as a society, as a minority group or as a grouping? I hate that minority group or that minority nonsense. I've said it before. Why are they downplaying us and making us feel less than, making us feel like we need a handout? Pay attention to that. This affirmative action uproar is part of the Great Deception. This is all it is. It's part of the Great Deception. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. Please look out for our next and upcoming episode titled The Great Deception. And I really do hope that, you take the time and you listen to this episode and you enjoy it and you let us know and you give us some feedback. We're going to change our website. We're working on updating and changing our website. So definitely give us some feedback when we share that with everyone, when we put that out there. So that you guys will be able to speak to us more often than you are. Unless, you go on Facebook, and you could definitely leave us feedback there. We thank you so much. Again, the greatest audience in the business. If you like our content, all you have to do is hit like or subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. All it costs is that you get our latest content as soon as we drop it. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and soon on our new website. Thank you once again. And as always, God bless you all.